Hey, I'm Ossie from Three Monkey Solderless, home of the world's best cables for your pedal board, DC, audio, and now even RCA. So check us out at threemonkeysolderless.com. All right, so we got the Echoplex out right over here. I figured it might be a good time for us to kind of like go over some possible configurations of the rig that may or may not have been used on the album, right? The first album for Van Halen. So let's go first very quickly and just describe what you're hearing. So we have our guitar with Mighty Might 1800 going into my 1970 50 watt head stock, which is going into this load box right up here. My load box, then into the Echoplex, and then into the 1972 Marshall 100, into which I've installed a line in going into the power amp. All right, so it's guitar, Marshall, load box, Echoplex, Marshall line in, and then into the aux box, the one on the bottom, which has right now just loaded up for the greenback setting, right? Greenback punch into GarageBand with some echo and stuff, right? So anyway, I guess there was some thinking about whether the Echoplex should go in front or after the amp. I don't want to speak out of school, but there's a guy out in LA that's pretty famous that puts together rigs for people. And I think we share an idea that the Echoplex works better when it's placed after the amplifier, after a load box. It's a more usable echo. It's not as strong on the second repeat as the signal going into it is already as high as it's going to get. It's not going to be... See, when you go into the guitar, into the Echoplex, and then into an amplifier, the repeats are amplified as well, and they become compressed and almost as loud as the fundamental note. So that is not really a really good echo, right? And I think Eddie has always moved into the sort of like the architecture, the rig architecture of having a master head loaded down to line level, going into his effects, then into power amplifiers. Back then, he probably, no H&H, just, Marshalls, and then into the speaker cabinet. So let's just listen to sort of what we get, right? With this way, how clean the echo is, right? Right? So I have right now the echo set up for about 2 repeats, and the blend button is halfway up, where if you were to put that into the front end of an amp, it's just going to sound like, bomp, bomp. It's not going to sound like, it's not going to have like that subtle kind of thing for getting that. I think this is probably the way it was done. Right? So it's a much more usable. Now, if I were to turn this down, you could see how subtle it gets, right? You can barely hear the repeats now, right? Going up again to 5, halfway up. We'll split the difference and go to 2.5. Okay, and then I don't know if this is something. Why were there 2 Echoplexes, right? That's another question. There's a few answers, a few possible answers why Eddie used two Echoplexes. Um, if you ever saw like his rig later on in the years where he had two delays in his rack, right? One was set for a very quick slap and the other one for a longer slap, right? So it's possible that the delays were set up for a quick and then a long to kind of really fill out the sound more. So that's a possibility. Like I kind of like the Echoplex when it's set on that, like classic kind of setting where you have the repeat time all the way back, right? So it's very quick. So we'll move that all the way to, where there's barely any time, as quick as it'll get, right? So that gives it like a really cool like you're slapping way back real quick. So anyway, I think that's good for right now to kind of like test out the Echoplex before or after. I kind of prefer a little bit after. And we're also going to talk about the compressor unit in that very soon. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.